Some of you I see on new faces. You speak for the first time. Welcome. Welcome to you. A very quick introduction to the Commons, so you know what it is. The Knowledge and Learning Commons was launched this year, and it's a joint project between the library and our Centre for Learning and Multilingualism to provide this kind of space for informal learning, knowledge exchange, trying to co-create or collaborate together if possible. And our Monday Motivation Series is one of the sessions that we hold in the Commons. We've actually had it 2 times before with our ICTS colleagues, Abigail and Jaco. We had one session already on Java, so how you log in to be able to telecommute and work from outside your desk, away from your desk. We've also had one on Microsoft Teams, if you happen to use Microsoft Teams, which is also part of the Office 365 package. And today we continue with another Office 365 package tool, which is Yammer. And we actually have Lisa Campbell here from DCM, who uses Yammer a lot as part of her work at DCM. So she'll give you practical tips and tricks to be able to use it for your work if it's interesting to you. Yammer is kind of like the Facebook of an internal organization. So anyone with a email address can use Yammer. And there are different groups there, so you can have conversations on different topics of professional interest. So Lisa will be able to share that with you. We also have our colleagues Darko and Abigail from ICTS, the service support, to be able to answer any questions you have on the technical side. So if you're interested to know what the Commons does, you can pick up that slide at the back. At the end of the session, we have a welcome desk. You can also subscribe so you actually get our events right to your inbox if that's interesting as well. So a very warm welcome again, and I pass it over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Can I take from you the... So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Campbell. I work in Division of Conference Management, Office of the Director. I'm also part of the DCM innovation team that was set up about a year ago. So, what I'll do to start with is I'll just introduce the DCM innovation team, who we are and what we do, because it's the context in which we use Yammer. And then afterwards, I'll go into the platform, how we use it, and the pros and cons associated with it. So, about 12 months ago, our Divisional Director, Karim Malzania, launched an internal innovation team within DCM. So we're all existing staff members. We dedicate a certain number of hours per week to innovation, and then we rotate every quarter. The composition of the team changes slightly. So the reason that this was initiated was that Mr. Mahal recognized the pace of change that's happening with some of the emerging technologies, and the nature of work of DCM means that we are a group that can leverage it, that can do many things with these frontier technologies, and that can use it to better serve our clients. So the way our work is structured within the innovation team is into these 3 pillars. There's Explore, which is really a research function, and what we do under Explore is we look at academia, what's happening with some of the emerging technologies, we look at the private sector, we look at the research that's happening, and we find ways to channel that information back to our colleagues to share the knowledge and use it to generate ideas. Some of the ways in which we do that are in person. We hold lunchtime talks, we hold engagement sessions, we hold online webinars, but we also use collaboration platforms, and that's where Yammer comes in. The second part to what we do is Enable, and Enable is really where a colleague or someone in the division has an idea about how to do something better and how to do it differently, and we provide them with the forum and the methodology and the tools and the space to take that forward. Those changes can be something very small and incremental, improving a procedure or doing something for clients a little bit differently, or it can be something completely transformational using an artificial intelligence or a frontier technology. But our goal there is really to enable colleagues to take those ideas forward themselves. The last pillar is Experiment, and that's where we have a small number of projects that we take forward to prototype within the team. And those projects aim to leverage the technology to do something different or better, or to better serve our clients. Examples of what we're doing there now is we are looking at, for example, at our documentation formats. If you have reason in your day-to-day work to read our UN parliamentary documents, you'll have seen that they've been very stable format for a very long time. So one of our projects is looking at how can we revamp and rejuvenate that. We have projects running looking at how do we ease the flow of the submission of electronic delegate statements from meeting delegates. And we have a project where we're looking at whether we can leverage virtual reality to support no-fly events, where people can actually attend remotely using new technologies rather than physically traveling to an event. So our goal is really just to explore those spaces. We do it on a small scale, we do it in a safe environment, and we investigate whether this is something that we can use to better serve our clients. The way in which we use Yammer really links to the first 2, Explore and Enable. It's a collaboration platform, and it's very, very, very simple. If you know how to use Facebook, you know how to use Yammer. It's structured into different discussion groups. What happens is you'll pick the topic that you want to engage with colleagues on. It may be something related to your work, it may be something more informal, and you form the group around that topic. It's used for peer-to-peer sharing of information, and it's used to draw ideas from colleagues across the organisation, and groups can be public or they can be private. So you can restrict it to a small number of people that you want to collaborate with, or you can open to the whole organisation, or you can even open to people external to the organisation. What I'll do is I'll talk through the steps of how to go about setting it up, what it looks and feels like, and then I'll share a little bit of the lessons learned, what's worked for us, what's not worked for us, and where we would recommend it and where we found it really has limitations. It's to go in, the easy link to remember is office.com. So it's part of Office 365, meaning the same place that you go to log on to your webmail or to your online apps. You'll see the icon for Yammer there. So you go to office.com, you use your UN email address, you use your Unite ID, and you can get straight into Yammer. To start with, you'll see a menu of all the groups that colleagues have already formed. So there's no restriction on who can form a group. As long as you have a UN.org email account, you can set one up. From here, you can either join an existing group with a topic that is of interest, or you can create your own group around the topic that you want to discuss. First thing you do is you add your members. As the administrator, you can search for anyone with a UN.org email account. You may, of course, want to inform them if you're going to add them into your group. And as long as the group is open, others can search your group and choose to add themselves as well. So that will straight away form your group. The site is prepared by default, and you can start sharing information. So the functions are quite basic. It's essentially structured like a newsfeed. You can post information, you can post links, you can load some documents. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then it promotes interaction between the members of the community. So in the same way that you do on Facebook, you comment, you like, you reply, you tag. That's the same kinds of things that you can do in Yammer. It also has a handy function, which is you can run polls. So within the community, if you're floating an idea or you want to test something, it's structured as a poll because it's linked to your Unite ID. Every participant can only vote once, and you can get some instant feedback from the group. It's quite generous with the email notifications. So in setting up a group, another important thing is to go into the email notifications and make sure that your participants only get the notifications that are really useful to them. Otherwise, you can find that you get a little bit overwhelmed. So it really is that simple. Its function is the same as the newsfeed on Facebook. It's very limited. What I would say is that its simplicity is why we like it within the DCN innovation team, because there's no learning involved, there's no training required. If you know how to use Facebook, you know how to use Yammer. These are examples of some of the communities that are currently active within Yammer platforms. So there's our DCM Innovation Group, and what we do within the Innovation Group is we do this knowledge sharing of research that we have found. We also use it to solicit ideas and participation from the community. So where we have, for example, an incubation workshop or an idea that we want to take forward, rather than broadcast emailing everyone, we know that the people who are part of community have a defined interest in this area. So we use Yammer to inform them to say, we're having a working session on such and such a topic. If you're available, please inbox me. And this is how we enable peer-to-peer contact without going through the formal lines of hierarchy and communication. And anyone who's got a natural interest in the topic can link into the group in that way. Another example is Leadership for Managers in the UN. That's an active group that's focused on staff development. And again, it's not a formalized group, it's a peer-to-peer group across the whole organization of people that are interested in skills development and leadership development, and there they share knowledge and information and sessions on there. We also find it very handy, one of the things that we like to promote is awareness of events that are relevant to the future of our work within DCM, within conference management, and there's so much within UN Geneva. So there are so many free-to-attend events, seminars, webinars, and this is how we communicate to colleagues that those are coming up as well. Rather than broadcast emailing 600 plus people all the time, we can target it to the group that have expressed interest in knowing about it. Other examples of how people are using it, so sometimes it's more functional. It can relate to example, a business intelligence group or a technology group or business relationship management. But there's also a more social aspect to it. So we have a colleague within language services who set up a group of zero waste at the UN. And that's a community of UN staff who are really focusing on how we can reduce our environmental footprint within the office. And again, it's staff driven and staff motivated. A colleague took the initiative, and now it's quite an active community around that. Other examples are more logistical. So there's one, for example, for carpooling in Bangkok. people who want to ride share to and from the office. So it really has any number of purposes. What we use it for in the innovation group, I mentioned, but we use it to share knowledge. That is, when we find something, how do we reach colleagues that want to receive that information without bombarding people who don't have it as such a high priority on their list? We use Yammer. To get ideas when we want participation in a particular event, rather than trying to tear down through managerial hierarchy, we just go laterally to the network and see who wants to participate. And then I mentioned around the community of online events and physical events in Geneva. For those that want to participate, that's how we inform them. Why we like it, I'll also talk about what its limitations are, but why we like it is, the first is that it flattens the hierarchy. So within the community, everybody in the community has access to everybody in the community. So a colleague may post an article, our divisional director may respond. A service chief may post an article, anybody can respond to that. So the dialogue it cuts across all functions and it cuts across all levels. And the same way you would on Facebook, it just opens up that door for dialogue between the different groups. It also enables global networks, because although we launched as DCM, in our community we've got active participants from political affairs in New York, from peacekeeping missions, from Departments of Public Information. Anybody who has an interest in this area, because the group is open, can join the group. So we get a cross-fertilization of ideas from people about conferencing that are not directly working in that area, and it just opens up the door for a different kind of discussion. And across those three pillars that I mentioned at the start, to get to the point of enabling ideas and to get to the point of experimenting with projects, we first have to know what's happening in the outside environment that we can leverage. And this is really one of the starting points to which we can channel all of that. Developments in the external environment, I think something that we can sometimes lapse into is a very internal focus within United Nations organizations, and it's a platform that helps connect us to what's happening in Silicon Valley, to academia and the private sector and other international organizations. When we find out, we've immediately got a way to share it with others to whom it is of interest. And it's brought out a knowledge base and a skill set that we didn't know that was there previously. So, for example, we have many colleagues in DCM that we didn't realize came from academia and still have very strong connections back into academia and have access to all of this information that's channeled through academia. This is a forum through which they can now share all of that knowledge that they have with their colleagues. Alternative to email broadcasts, we receive many email broadcasts on a regular basis, and because this is targeted per discussion group, it's targeted per topic, it means that we specifically get to the information to people who have expressed an interest in that area. Very easy to use in that it uses your UN.org account and your United credentials, so we can get in easily. And separates professional from personal content. This was some feedback that we had as we evolved, because within the innovation team, we set up a Facebook group, we used different social media accounts, and some of the feedback that we started to get over time was that colleagues like to separate what is their personal social media and what is their professional. So they don't necessarily want to mix Harvard Business Review article on artificial intelligence with birthday photographs or holiday photographs. So colleagues expressed that they like to use Yammer because it purely focuses on the professional aspect of newsfeed and information exchange, rather than leveraging a platform like Facebook or Instagram to cross-fertilize. That wasn't universal, so I'm going to come back to that point. A few pitfalls, and where we found it doesn't work very well, is that it sorts all content as newsfeed only. So that means that when you post into the group, it sorts it by a posting date. So if there's something that you found very interesting and 6 months later you want to go back and try and find it, it's not easy to find, because it sorted it just as your newsfeed on Facebook. What's at the top of the list, what was posted the latest, or what was commented the latest. So it's not very good for content management, either for online material or also for documents. It does let you upload documents, but there's no way to then manage the content of those documents. You can't put in a file structure or make it easier to navigate. It will just list everything by the date on which it was loaded. So our experience is that really it's valuable for sharing information that's current and that's live in a newsfeed format, but it's not the right platform, for example, for co-developing a file or for storing information that you want to reference at a future date. Generational preference, this was the mixed point of feedback that we had, whereby we found many of our colleagues like to separate their personal social media from professional content that they post. But there was a generational difference in that feedback. So our new graduates joining, our interns and some of our millennial colleagues did not feel the need for separation, did not necessarily want a separate platform to have to go to. They wanted it all integrated into current social media. whereas we found the other generations gave us the feedback that they wanted to keep it separate. So it was an interesting divergence there. If you want to set an easy way to start, is just join an existing community and see how they're operating. Most of the communities are open, or even if it's a private group and you wish to join, you just send a request to the administrator can add you to the group. If you're setting up your own group, a few tips to get started. The first is to build momentum in that it needs a critical mass to start off. So if you're starting a discussion group on a new topic, as an administrator, you need at least 15, 20 people that you're adding into the group on their behalf at the time that you set it up in order to have enough of a community to start the dialogue going. A helpful thing is to use related forums to kickstart it. So you can either tap into other Yammer groups and invite them to join your Yammer group, or you can go to related forums as in discussions in the comments, training sessions that are related to that particular topic, and invite those people to join your group. And then you get the critical mass needed to start the discussion and to start the knowledge sharing. It's helpful to have champions that post quite a lot. Champions that have got research within their scope of work and that take responsibility at the start to actively keep content up to date. If it goes quiet for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, the community can very quickly dissipate. So it's important to identify champions at the start that will post regularly and keep the momentum going, especially for the first couple of months. We've been very fortunate as well that our senior leadership team is very active. So our divisional director, our directors of the different services, they all actively engage and they actively share and they actively post. And that level of sponsorship, I think, encourages other people to use the platform as well. Monitoring and respond is really about, especially when people post something for the first time, it's really important for the administrator to acknowledge and to respond to their comments because the nature of the platform is that it flattens the hierarchy. So at first, colleagues can be a little hesitant to post in response to a very senior leadership member or a senior staff member. So it's important to have that two-way dialogue to show that actually this is a platform that flattens the hierarchy and that anybody can engage with anybody. So very simply, that's how we're using it in DCM. This is more the use case view, functionally how we found value in it. But we also have with us colleagues from ICTS who can take some discussion topics and some questions around the more technical aspects of the platform.
Great, thank you very much, Lisa. Anything to add administratively or technically, Zapo and Abigail, before we begin the Q&A? So now I guess we open to the floor. Do you have any specific questions or more advice on how to get started?
I came with a very specific question. Our section uses Yammer extremely actively. Our section is about 50 people, and we have about 10 groups just within the section, and they work very active. We do have one issue, is we work with contractors, and while they're not working with us, as temporary staff, for example, which we sometimes do, they can't access our Yammer communities, and it's a big issue. So you did mention that we can invite people from outside. We have not found a way to do that, and that's really frustrating. So I would love to know how to do that.
Okay. Dirk, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. I believe everyone can hear me. Yes, there is a requirement to share not only the discussions, but also the files, SharePoint files, and there's Teams, and there's lots of agencies and units who help the external partners here, museum as well. And so far it's only available for your cloud account, but currently there is a governance group that is working on this for specific requirements of your requirements or Roger's requirements and analysis. I'm not sure when this policy will be implemented, because as we discussed in TeamScript previously, the general recommendation from our InfoSec colleagues is to not store student confidential information on cloud services. So that component is still against using cloud for this, but when it comes to expanding these services to external partners, we are working with solutions.
Is that follow-up question?
It wasn't confusing.
It wasn't confusing, it's just disappointing because it's a very real business need that we have, and we don't know if we're going to go in a year or 10 years or whatever. And in the meantime, we don't really have a good solution. So.
Let me reply before you ask the question. Every unit or license, Office 365 license costs 2 years in US dollars. And we have 64,000. Of course.
Just, it seems like the Office 365, all the collaboration must be comes with one setting, which is allowed by Microsoft to share with externals, but it's blocked because of a policy applied. And that's, if you open it for Yammer, it means you open it for SharePoint and the other applications, if I understand it.
No, we can address it.
So basically, if you open it for Yammer, it will open all the applications.
No. We can target which applications are available for us.
Because the SharePoint also, we have this issue with this sharing, with this kind of background.
Did anyone notice the questions on the first new Secretary General's town hall meeting? Very good posted questions. 2 years ago. You just Google those.
Okay, that's good to know. Wow, when was that?
2 years ago.
Thanks.
Just a quick question. Is it only usable for holders of the UN own address, or does it work for OHCH afterwards?
You are part of the same tenant with different SMP settings. You have your ID, so you are able to.
But the follow-up question is whether OHCH as well, and I asked questions in the IT, and they told us that, well, officially, OHCH were not allowed to use it because of the fact that the data are on the iCloud.
Not on iCloud. Not on iCloud, on Microsoft Azure service. And as I said it previously, the information management policy does not stipulate using posting strictly confidential documents on the cloud services. Everything else is allowed now. The policy changed basically. UN OCT expanded the policy of what can be posted there. So everything about that's strictly confidential can be on the cloud. Now your agency has a specific security requirements, and we need to clarify that with them.
Yeah, thank you. It's a follow-up in a similar sort of way. So we've been using Yammer for about 3 years in a collaboration project with countries and with the European Union, but that's external, it's not UN. I can still access both through the Yammer portal. I don't suppose there's any way of being able to join external older Yammer groups to the new UN Yammer method.
Well, same applies for Skype for Business and Skype for use, which is publicly available free service, and there is Skype for Business that is a corporate service. Same applies for Yammer, it is available on Microsoft website for free, and one that is incorporated in our infrastructure in enterprise systems. Joining them, I really can't answer the question.
That comes to the question, if you are just to maybe introduce this tool to people, right? Exactly that you mentioned the Skype, right? The normal free version, the corporate version should have more features that will attract people to use it, but it's not. I doubt how many few people are using Skype for business. So this will apply for the other tool that are restricted. And then always one consider things that it's not open, because we're not working alone in this world, right? Especially community. We work with collaboration with communities, with partners, with externals. And then about security, as I said, maybe the organization, another point which I am quite mostly and aware what is security needs and restrictions. Because I came from information management background.
Well, information management stipulates which documents should have certain tagging and certain security profiles. initials from open to the public to confidential. The current policy says that the confidential should not be on the club. However, just the consumption of recently on the Global Scale Peace Conference, where the director of British Support said that new Secretary General would like to have all documents on. And that was really a strong statement of message, and I believe that as we speak, somebody in New York is working on the new governance policy, including Yammer side and SharePoint. I feel I hijacked the floor.
I have a question about if anyone. Just about the establishing the group. You can't vote for a post like this, of course, without having being part of the group, right? But in Yammer, you have to be part of the group. I understand, right? You have to have either create a group or you are joined to a group, member to be able to post.
Yeah, my recollection is that you need to have joined the group in order to post the content.
That's, I think, a little difference like this. So it's organized in groups. And do the groups work together?
What we found in practical terms is that although every group has its own administrator and is set up with its own purpose, we end up following each other. So yes, because the Yammer will suggest for you, will recommend groups for you based on what you've participated in the past. So it kind of connects people across groups. So for example, it's recommended to me to join the group on artificial intelligence and blockchain and whatnot. And then the communities within those end up following each other's groups. And that's, I think, largely how we've ended up with many people from different parts of the organization participating in our conferencing group.
Okay.
You can certainly browse the groups and ask to join them. They're mostly publicly available. I just checked a couple of ones that we announced, and I was able to see the content there and like some of them in comment.
Thanks.
I have a question about, in fact, we are trying to use it, but it's a bit difficult to bring people to Yammer actually. And we were thinking, because I know that at some point we were able to live stream on Yammer, but they stopped it. Do you know?
I will have to take that question back, and I need to verify first before answering things. So if you leave me your contact details, I will give that.
Okay, that's it.
Certainly today there's no live streaming function active.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Lisa, Dr. and Abigail, for joining us, and also for attending. Just a quick note, many of you mentioned that you do use Yammer already, but if you would like more information, Lisa has prepared this tip sheet for you, so it's just at the back of our welcome desk if you'd like to take that before you leave. Also, come say hi if you'd like to know more about our events, suggest ideas also for subjects that are of interest to you, because we have 5 streams of activity for the Commons this year based on a learning needs assessment done for diplomats, interns and staff. Our colleague Vivian did a 3-month assessment to know what our audience actually really needs and would like to know in terms of informal learning. But if you have ideas as well of subjects and topics that you would like to see in the comments, please feel free to just stop by and mention them to us. So thank you again for joining us. And if you have any questions or want to leave your contacts, please come by right now and we can engage with that.
And do please join us on Yammer, it's a good
Yes.
so you're all
Okay.
You have a group for Yammer?
for DCM.
DCM, okay.
If you're interested too, we were also looking for some in-depth feedback for the comments. If you have 5 minutes, Vivian is here, and you can give her your feedback on the style of it, so we do so we can improve for the future. So stop by if you have a spare. Otherwise, have a great day, and see you soon, hopefully.